happy Sunday. Gordana and I are excited, and we were just talking before we went live. We switched platforms to do this Sunday live, which is really nice. And all I had to do was hit one button. But in previous lives, we would spend time, wait, is this going to work or not work?
Worrying.
Sometimes it wouldn't work, and sometimes it would work. Yeah. So happy this platform's working really well. And happy Sunday live, Gordana.
Happy Sunday, Lucas, and happy Sunday, everyone watching this live. This is a topic that is really close to both mine and Lucas' heart, because it has to do with how we look at the world and the past experiences that color the world for us. So we have to go back and look at the first experiences of this world. And this is why we have named this Sunday Live the kid who keeps pressing the panic button actually runs the show in your life. And if you're not aware of the 7-year-old, then the 7-year-old is running your life. So we want to unpack this, and we want to go deeper and to look at what happens to us before we are 7 and how that affects the rest of our lives and the way we look at life, our own identity. So let's unpack this.
I love it. I was thinking this morning in preparation for this that I heard this old preacher say one time. He said, the goal is, and this is in relationship to in Christianity, but I think it's applicable if we kind of change the metaphor. But he said the goal is, most people are driving their car and they ask God to be a co-pilot in their life and like, come with me wherever I go. And what really the best way to do it is not just sit in the back seat, because we're going to want to go, oh, turn left, turn right, oh, watch out, and be a backseat driver. He said the goal really is to get into the trunk, close the trunk, and whisper through the keyhole, take me wherever you want to go. It's your car now. And I thought, what an interesting dynamic of the little child within that's constantly, look out, watch out. It's always in fear mode. And if we can acknowledge that, to turn around and say, it's all good. Take a nap. Go ahead, take a nap in that backseat. I got you.
Going back to your analogy, and the way most of us do, it's not like we're inviting God to take that place. We are actually not aware of that the 7-year-old is driving the car and we're in the trunk.
Right.
And that's what we want us to look at today, to see, because truly, isn't it? I mean, if you just imagine this for a while, having a 7-year-old driving your car, that is what happens. It will be tumultuous. Right. So how do we go back to our past and look at it from a safe space and see what this 7-year-old is actually carrying? Because this 7-year-old, and we talked about this before we started the show, for me, it's the 6-year-old. I've gone back and I've looked at this, and I can see that the person who has the hand on the panic button is 6-year-old Gordana. And you said that for you, it's more like 4-year-old Lucas pushing the panic button. What does that actually mean when the little child in you, the inner, tried by others as you're overreacting? But what the child is doing, inner child is doing, is it is trying to protect you from the things that it had to go through as a child. It doesn't have to be a bad childhood. It's an imprinting that the child has gone through. Right. So the inner child is a coded messenger for you to look at and see, is this true? Does this work for me? Do I need to change this? That's what the inner child, or the 7-year-old, or the panic button pressing 6-year-old in me wants. It wants to be seen, and it wants to be reevaluate it, so to speak. Is this the truth? Do I need to be afraid? So going back and looking at it and saying, you don't need to be afraid. This is okay. Mothering yourself, fathering yourself is how you integrate that world clearly. Because before we can speak, just one moment. Before we can speak, we learn how to feel. Before we learn how to think, we learn to adapt. Look, it's like my voice echoing all the time.
You sound okay to me.
All right. So it's only my ears. Okay. So before we learn how to speak, we learn how to feel. Before we learn how to think, we learn how to adapt. And before we decide who we are, someone or something decides for us. And what I want us to do is to go back to that initial time and see, who am I without all these filters? And the Egyptians have this concept of something that is called Zep Tepi. And Zep Tepi means the beginning, the first time. And it has to do with their culture, but it can be applied to anything. It is the first time you explored something. That makes an imprint on you. But if you're 3 months old and you're experiencing something before you even understand what you're experiencing, then that becomes a wordless feeling inside of you. And you have to go back and knowledge that is there, so that you see that there is no need for you as a grown-up to be afraid of it, so that you do not get triggered when that comes up in your reality as a grown-up.
Right. That makes sense. Well, without doing this, without acknowledging who's driving what car and where we are and where that child is, we will never find peace.
No.
Ever. It's impossible.
Yes, because you will always be in some kind of reaction mode, and you will always be interpreted by the world around you as if you were overreacting. But if you can see it as for what it is activation of stored vibrational memory. Vibrational memory is a part of your frequency, who you are. That's your identity here. This is why we go through this imprinting. So it's not a bad thing. As a child, you have to go through this. Between the age of newborn and 7, our brain works in a different way. It goes into theta waves, which means that you're absorbing. And why are you doing this? Because it's a part of your identity. When you absorb, you don't have an identity, so you can't react to the world. Your identity becomes how the world reacts to you. And that can be a good thing, a bad thing, a neutral thing. But that's not your true identity. It's just an identity you need in order to handle yourself in the physical world. So when you grow up, when you look back at this, there is a portal for you, or a window of opportunity to change, rearrange, reevaluate, create new patterns so that your identity will be conscious. Because your identity is unconscious as a child. It becomes how the world mirrors your identity back to you. And I gave you the example of my mother treating my brother differently than she treated me. And it gave him a sense of being lovable and a sense of being not lovable because of her mirroring back that to us. So my part of my identity is I have to work for love, or I have to work for being loved. I have to earn love. That's what I want to say. He doesn't have to do that because he knows that he is unconditionally loved by his mother. And she mirrored it back. It was unconscious in her, unconscious in my brother, and unconscious in me. So in order to make that all conscious, I have to go back and look at this. So just because my mother, who doesn't know how to love herself, which that is a sad story in itself. mirrors back to me that I am not lovable. That's not a part of my truth. But I accept it as truth as a child because I have no option as a child. Everything that comes back to you from the outer world is perceived as the truth because you have no way to challenge it. You have no knowledge of the world, no identity to work with that information that comes to you.
Yeah.
So that's why this 7-year beginning of your life is an imprinting part of your life. And if you leave it at that and say, well, that's part of my personality, well, that's who I am, well, that's how life is, you will never ever know who you truly are outside of all of that. So you have to go back again, coming back to the Egyptians, Zep Tepi, you have to go back to the first time and say, how much truth is here, without blaming and shaming and guilt tripping anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everyone is doing the best they can.
Right. Right.
But the pattern here is the first 7 years, you're like a sponge. You're just absorbing things. Before you understand words, you absorb feelings.
Right.
So you have to go back and see, is this really true? As Katie Byron or Byron Katie would say, is this really true? Usually it isn't. Yeah.
In that context, what everyone's searching for is to be loved. But if you are still operating in that 7-year imprint, then everything becomes conditional, and then you don't feel safe. When we experience love or feel love as conditional love, there's no way we can feel safe. There's no way we can feel peace because it's never, you can't rest. There's always a performance or a reaction or a movement, a response. I have to do something. I have to be something. I have to go somewhere. I have to do something other than just rest in this present moment. But when we can go back and Zep Tepi that child and understand ourselves and give that child rest and peace and a freedom to go to sleep and take a nap because we are present. That's when we can flip the switch from conditional love to understanding the truth of unconditional love.
Yeah, the safety part is really important because if you do not feel safe, then why can't you sleep at night? Because you don't feel safe enough to let it go.
Right.
So you have to hold on to everything. That's why you can't go to sleep.
Right.
So, and as a grown-up, if you look in the room, there's no one there with you. So there is no real danger.
Right.
But yet you have this feeling that something is unsettling, there's anxiety, there's something going on there. Well, that is a sign that the 7-year-old is pressing the panic button all the time within you. So, and it's not doing this to bug you or to make your life miserable or just for the fun of it. It is doing so because it needs you to go back and decode the message, to look at it and say, is this real danger here? Or can I let this go? That's what letting go actually means. You know, we talk about forgiveness and all of that, and that is true. But unless you understand that there is no real danger where you are right now, you can't let it go. So, and the 7-year-old presses the button all the time. Now, as soon as you feel triggered, because the trigger is the portal into this world where you can explore what the 7-year-old or the 6-year-old or the 4-year-old is holding, what kind of message he or she is holding. You have to ask yourself, when you feel triggered by something, without outsourcing it to say this person made me angry or that person did this or whatever it is, when you feel triggered, own the trigger inside, and you have to ask yourself, how old do I feel? Now, that might be a hard question to ask because you would say, old, what are you talking about? I just feel fear, or I feel frustrated, or I feel anxiety. But if you sit in that anxiety or that fear and you ask yourself, how old do I feel? I promise that you will get an age that comes up. I remember a specific time when I had an argument with my son, and he was he loves arguments. My son loves to talk about things, politics and all that. He loves to argue. He likes to hear different views.
Yeah.
He's never judging, but he likes to test things. I don't. I like to have a conversation. I want us to agree. Everything needs to be fine. And in this conversation, we did not agree at all. And so he was probing it, trying different views, and I got more and more scared. I mean, how can I be scared? It's a conversation with my son. My son is a very loving human being,
Yeah.
a very non-judgmental human being. And yet I felt afraid. And he could see this. So he asks me, Mom, what's wrong? What's happening with you? And I couldn't even answer because I didn't have the words. And I'm thinking, what is not very often that I do not find the words. So I know that there's something going on within me. And I was breathing with this for a while. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel like a 6-year-old because I don't know how to express myself. I don't know how to put words to what I want to tell him right now. And so I asked him for a pause. I said, I need to pause here. I need to look at this. This is something weird going on. And this is the first time I connected to the 6-year-old in me that was pressing the panic button, because his way of speaking reminded me emotionally about my father's way of scolding me. And I stopped. That's where I found myself in the 6-year-old pressing the panic button. And when you are in panic, you do not know how to speak. You either run away or you freeze and you just sit there, don't know what to say. I found the 6-year-old there. Now, I could have just gotten angry and walked out of the room and never looked at this. But his presence and his forgiving attitude and his loving attitude allowed me to go back and look at this from a more calm perspective. And the 6-year-old was there to tell me that there is vibrational frequencies within me that do not like to be spoken to that way.
Yeah.
And so I could go back and look at this and he could explain and we could find back to each other. But you see, you have to ask, how old am I? What is going on here? Why don't I know how to express myself? Why do I feel anger? Why do I feel triggered? Why do I feel anxiety? How old am I? And that's how you can track back to the 7-year-old or the 6-year-old.
It doesn't matter really how we were raised, if we had a loving home, if we had an abusive home, everyone's getting triggered or reactive based on that first 7-year imprint. And it's interesting, as you're talking about Hubert and that dynamic that you and him shared, I'm thinking about myself and this deep, incessant, powerful drive that I've had to find sovereignty and help people find their own sovereignty. Well, of course, that, I look back, I had zero, every boundary got taken from me, everyone. So of course I will be on this journey to expand a boundary where that 7-year-old feels safe, of course. And I think surrendering, the only way, and I'm going to come back to this, the only way we can find peace. And we're talking, we've known each other a long time. We've been on this journey together a while. That 7-year-old who was running my life, or that 4-year-old, was fear-based, anxiety-ridden, even if on the outside it looked like I had everything together. And this journey to really heal that little boy and to understand and integrate and to let him know you can take a nap in the back seat of this car, to keep that analogy going. That's been the greatest blessing in my life. And if everyone can go through this journey for themselves, they'll understand that every dynamic with a coworker, with a boss, with their sibling, with a spouse, with any stranger, will become more graceful when that inner child can just relax and we can take the wheel.
Yeah, the first step is to acknowledge that there is a trigger,
Yeah.
not lash out, not react to the trigger, but acknowledge, okay, there is a trigger here.
Yeah.
Like anxiety when things don't go well is a trigger.
Mm.
Inability to rest without guilt, been there, done that, very much, is also a trigger. Overreactions in moments of rejection is a
Mm.
trigger. Constant self-correction before speaking, like censoring yourself all the time, is a trigger. So just becoming aware of the triggers that are in your life is to open the door to the 7-year-old. That
Mm.
doesn't mean you need to go back and look at every single memory in your past.
Yeah.
Does not have to be that way.
Yeah.
Because since there is only now, everything is layered in the now moment. So you can reach your past without the memory seeking, dwelling, repeating
Yeah.
stuff. You
Yeah.
can reach it by looking at the trigger and saying, okay, so why am I reacting to this the way I am reacting to it?
Mm.
And you can soothe the 7-year-old. I always have to soothe the 6-year-old in me.
Yeah.
I know why I felt the way I felt in the story that I told, because as a child, my father never listened to what I had to say. And it's it's amazing because what I do for a living is talk.
Yeah.
So it has been a driving force within me. But at the same time, if I do not look at the first time it happened to me, I will always feel this anxiety if I get some signal from the outside that people are not listening.
Mm.
I go back to the 6-year-old in me,
Yeah.
and I can detach from that because it doesn't matter. It is not important in my grown-up life
Yeah.
if everyone listens. Only the people who are vibing in the same frequency as I will listen to this, and that is totally okay.
Yeah.
But as a 6-year-old in the room with my father and trying to explain myself and he's not listening, that feels life-threatening.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
to go back to Zep Tepi the first time and realize it doesn't have to be life-threatening is to mother myself and say, okay, here's the truth. This is how we're going to do this. It doesn't matter. It's like you would stand in front of a mirror, look at yourself the way you look now, and
Yeah.
realize that you're not this little boy being mishandled by your father.
Right.
You're a grown-up man,
Right.
totally sovereign with agency, authority, integrity, all is intact within you. And you
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah.
And yet, this 4-year-old pressing the panic button all
Yeah.
the time, do this, do that,
Yeah.
fix this, fix that. Because the 7-year-old or the 4-year-old does not understand safety.
Right.
So that's why it's so important. Sorry, Lucas. It's so important to go back and ask. And you go back by asking, how old am I right now? What is going on? How old is my inner child right now? What is this trigger? Those are the questions you need to ask. And that's the portal back without dwelling in it and, repeating it over and over and over again. You don't need to do that.
Right. Lately, so we were talking about my son who's 11 and going through this phase right now. And I find him, sometimes we just don't talk in the car, and, I've been trying not to play even music, just driving when I'm driving him somewhere, and he'll be looking out the window. And it reminds me, and it's interesting, I've been having this more and more recently. My earliest memories of being 4 years old in a vehicle with my dad would always ask me, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about right now? What are you thinking about? Like a jackhammer. And I repeatedly for years, always wanted to know what I was thinking. And I was looking at my son, and I would never ask him that because that's the safe space for him to be with himself in that moment. And I realized, wow, I didn't even have my own thoughts to sit with back then. And I don't know, just as being a parent now of 4 children and watching this journey, but then seeing them and then seeing me and then how I was parented and world that it created in me, and now healing and going through this process, I cannot describe, and everyone listening, and got Tommy from Australia listening and watching, and I cannot describe the peace that I would have done anything for, that I experience now every single day, sleeping like a rock, because I've gone through this process and understood the distinction between the little child in fear, always pushing the panic button, and the man that is me today, that can protect that little boy, saying, no one's going to ask you what you're thinking again. Or even if they do, you don't have to say
Exactly.
a darn thing if you don't want to. And I got your back, you know?
Yes, absolutely. You know, this inner child, or this coded messenger, which is maybe easier for people to absorb, because inner child is so misused in the new age stuff. But the coded messenger that you have within you, the first part of your identity, the first 7 years of your life, it's like a soul fragment that you need to pick up in order to feel whole. And it doesn't, I mean, soul fragment sounds like your soul can be broken, but that's not the truth. It is like an illusion. The soul fragment was not torn, but separated from the rest of you by your ego, because you have been in a triggered mode all the time. You are only absorbing, what is it called? You're only absorbing the outer reality, the image of you from the outer reality, without having a sense of yourself at that period. So it's a part of your soul, but it's still, it is imprinted with things that are not yours, and you can choose what of those things you want to keep as your personality and what you do not want to keep. It's not lying to yourself, because your soul is pure. And it's your choice. It's like the kintsugi thing that I'm talking about. You know, when you break something, you need to find the pieces and you have to fuse them with gold. And fusing this, parenting yourself, mothering yourself, is the gold, fusing that part of you into you. Now, you might like your personality. I like my personality. I know that you like your personality. So you don't need to erase everything, but you need to look at the things that trigger you. Those are the things that needs to be looked at, and that's the coded message. So looking at the things, why am I triggered by this, without outsourcing it? I think that is the message that we want to, convey this Sunday. Just look at the trigger and see, welcome the coded messenger in that trigger and say, what are you bringing to me? What is it that I need to look at?
Because peace is possible. And this is what everyone needs to understand, without any external intake, be it pharmaceuticals or, I mean, we are living in a world where people are needing something, because we can't live in an anxiety ridden body 24 hours a day. So it's understandable that we're using these external mechanisms to subdue the alarms going off inside of us. But it is so important to know it is possible. Peace is possible. Serenity is possible. The breath is possible when we can do exactly what we're talking about. Who is hitting this panic and anxiety? And it is the imprint of this child that we were, who's still frozen in time, saying, I'm going to get hurt. I'm not safe. Something's going to happen. It's scanning for future. It will not let you rest until we can go back, uncouple from that imprint, and then tell that child and pour absolute, unconditional, encompassing love in, around, and through that little child that we were. And what happens inside of us is this, I can feel it right now, just this almost a maple syrup or oil, olive oil, just like gets poured all over us. And then we are present. We find the presence again. And I'll tell you my own journey since you and I met on this. I couldn't sleep ever. I was an insomniac. I was so many struggles. And finally to sleep without issue, finally to, and it's still a practice. I was joking around the other day that I shared with these executives. In my mind, they said, well, we don't want this to feel like a 3-on-1 meeting. And I'm thinking, it's okay. It is a 3-on-1 meeting because I wasn't triggered. And I was thinking of the Bruce Lee quote. And I think I shared this with you. When you find yourself in a room full of your enemies, think not I am trapped in there with them, but rather they are trapped in there with me. You know?
Yeah, I know.
The only way to get to that and flip that switch is to do this work, because if the child is the one scanning and not feeling safe, it's impossible to feel the personal power and peace in any situation.
You know, what's really important is to realize that the now moment is all that exists. And we're talking about past patterns. I mean, I was a child many, many, many years ago. So it might feel like this is distant. What do I do with this? How can I integrate this? It's somewhere back there in time.
Yeah.
Well, metaphysically speaking, time is not linear. Time exists. Everything is right now, which means that there are layers. It's easy for you to get this. It's not like you need to go back in time. It feels like work going back in time.
Yeah.
Because the trigger is now. The trigger isn't back in time. The trigger is now. The trigger is the portal to the pattern that was set back then. But everything exists here right now.
Yes.
So you don't need to, it's not that much work. It's more of presence and the surrender to the truth that you're not the trigger. You might feel the fear, but the fear might not be real where you are right now. It might have been real a long time ago when the imprint was made, but you have access to the imprint right now.
Yes.
So what you need to do is to acknowledge the trigger. That is step one. Step two is do not outsource it. Of course, if there is real danger, do not stay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about situations like when I was with my son and I know that I'm in a safe space and yet I feel the inability to speak. What's going on? That's a perfect situation where you go back and you look at the trigger, and that is when you do the quantum jumping in time, because you go straight down to the pattern and you can see the pattern. Doesn't mean that you will resolve the pattern and it's gone and it's never happening again, but it makes it more conscious. And since we're all on a path of becoming more conscious, this is one of those things. And for me, it's important to say that you have to understand the now moment is all that is. And the trigger is giving you a window of opportunity to explore something that might feel like past, far, far away, but it's actually happening within you because it's within your vibrational field. You're carrying it in your vibrational field. And the child that is pressing the panic button is telling you, you have something in your vibrational field that is not the truth within you.
Right.
So you need to look at this. And if you want it to be the truth, then at least it's conscious.
Yes. Right.
So that's, I mean, it's not hard work, but it takes presence.
Yeah. It just takes an acknowledgement, it takes awareness, and you say so often, if you know better, you do better.
Yes.
And this is the reminder to know better, that unless we do this work, unless we acknowledge this imprint. Last night I went to a concert, there was 18,000 people in an arena, and it was so beautiful. And there was everyone singing, and there was this point where it was just a cappella, and it was just the voices in the arena, and it was moving. I mean, it was so beautiful. And I thought, as beautiful as this is, there's such an opportunity to give this message to the masses.
Yes.
That as beautiful, it was almost still outsourcing something outside of everyone singing, as opposed to what would have been like had everyone fully been present and done this work and then had that moment. It might have raised the frequency of Earth. So, I mean, who knows what would have happened? But I think there are beautiful messages out there that are very important. And without doing what we're talking about, there's still going to be a trap that people cannot find themselves out of, no matter. I really believe this. I mean, I've done religion and meditation and all the different methodologies and all the different work. And ultimately, as beautiful as they were, this is what we're talking about today is the key to freedom.
It's on a personal level, but again, I just want to remind everyone here that we are entangled. There is no real, I don't know where I end and you begin, Lucas, and you're in the US and I'm in Sweden, but still there is no real boundary where I end and you begin. So we are all entangled in each other. And when I start to do this work with me, I don't like to say the work because it's not work. When I start to explore more of who I am, I raise my frequency. And by that, the frequency is raised everywhere. Yeah. It sounds like a cliche, but it is the truth because we are entangled with each other.
Right.
We are entangled with the stars, even though they are light years away. It's still, everything is entangled. There is no boundary that says this is separate from that. Everything is one in that sense.
Yeah.
So of course, doing the work, you're doing it for yourself because you want to feel good. But when you feel good, your entire world changes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So it's really, I feel like it's important work, as the Egyptians probably knew, to go back and look at the first time that you did. The surrealists in art history, they try to do the same thing by creating images that no one's seen before because they wanted to look at things as if it were for the first time. Like when you were a baby, and if you look at, say you're looking at this glass, you don't know what that is. Right. You're exploring it, you're looking at it, you're like a scientist trying to figure out what is this.
Right.
And you'll get an image, but you can't know exactly what it is. And then people tell you it's a glass, you drink water from it, and you adapt to that, and you learn what this is. This is a glass.
Right.
It's the same thing with your personality. So going back and looking at you as if it were for the first time, saying, okay, so how do I feel about this? Is this real?
Yeah.
Is this true? Do I want this? Making a conscious choice, regardless of what it is that you're choosing, but making it more conscious is the goal here.
Yeah. Yeah. And going instead from a reactive state, state to a proactive or present state. Yeah.
Yeah. Allowing the 7-year-old to drive the car. You would never, ever sit in a car with a 7-year-old.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. There are probably 7-year-olds that know how to drive car, but still, you wouldn't put your life in the hands of a 7-year-old consciously. And yet that is what we're doing unconsciously every single day, unless we start looking at the triggers, unless we start seeing the overreaction as, re-experiencing. And you have to ask yourself, what is it that I'm re-experiencing in this moment? It has nothing to do with the object of the trigger, so to speak. It has everything to do with you and re-experiencing something that isn't true anymore in your life. So going in, looking at it, that's the goal here.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you for this beautiful Sunday Live. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And look forward to next week when we do another.
Yes, absolutely. We'll see where we go with this.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.